Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Tuesday evening, and it's time for the HomeLab Hour. And we'll get the normal stuff out of the way first. This is all about talking about HomeLab. So if you have questions, hey everybody, thank you for joining the chat. See the chat's filling up. Drop your questions in the chat, and we will get them on screen. We'll answer them. I have a special guest joining me today. I'm really excited. Actually, just as a bit of trivia here, he was the first person I ever did a live show with who was like not like someone I knew personally. And so I will introduce to you the one, the only Brett Radal. Thank you so much.
Yo, what is up, my man? I just realized my had like all my lights off before I came in, so now I gotta like get pretty for the
Change your
camera.
lighting.
Yeah, I can't come on stage and not be like
I guess I should have
properly
given you more of
lit.
a should have hit you up in the green room with some snacks.
Nah, dude, I was late, dude. I've been dealing with two kids. Like, one went to bed and then refused to sleep, and the other one is a 2 month old. So that explains that.
Yeah, it's
But
the fun
yeah.
years.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, dude. I just love talking nerd stuff, so I'm
Yeah.
always down.
Yeah, I actually, and I've got a bunch of things to talk to you about because it's been a while, and
Yes.
I I want to talk to you about some of your videos, but also I think I want to start with you talking about your foray into 3D printing.
Mm, absolutely, dude. Let's say I've had a 3D printer now for 2 weeks, so I'm basically an expert. Um,
Nice. Yeah, that's about
that's
all it
how it goes,
takes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the Dunning Kruger where
Yeah. It's like,
right in the middle? I
like
haven't hit that
10,000
yet.
hours. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's fast, dude. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All I've done for 2 weeks straight is eat, sleep, 3D printing.
Yeah.
Um, I take one of these out, dude. These are. You ever have like headphones in and like your voice sounds muffled? Like they're
Yep.
too, yeah. Okay, I'm rocking one headphone then. So yeah, I've got a Prusa
Yeah. Mark
MK4S,
Mark 4S. Yeah. Very
Mark
nice.
4S. Yeah, they sent it over because I was like, hey, I have all these ideas for things I want to 3D print. That'd be awesome in my projects, and they were like, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, because I've been wanting to get into it for a long time because there's just so many useful applications for it in the home lab world. So um, I have printed a few things.
Okay.
Two of them I can't specifically show yet. One I can. It's actually sitting right here. Check this out, dude.
Oh yeah, I saw your posts about this. That
Yeah,
is
so this is an
impressive.
upcoming video that I have sneak peek. So basically, I wanted to do a tiny portable Plex server setup thing.
Hmm.
So I wanted it to be obviously a little mini PC, a hard drive, networking, so that like in the car, everyone just connects, or wherever you're at, everyone
Hmm.
just connects to the router, and you have local Plex. You don't have to be connected to the actual internet. And then I wanted it to be powered without, having to plug it in. So we got this guy. So instead of just lumping it all together, I designed and printed a little like
That looks
case
great.
thingy for all of them. So I'm pretty happy with it for like my first real project. It's I'm hyped for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
So,
neat.
uh, that I'm curious. So, uh, and feel free to tell me you're not going to answer this question, but like, how many iterations to get to that point?
I was literally thinking about the tweet I was going to make. It's like, so we should be printing like how many final versions do you have? Because I'm on V final version 3. Here's my 1 second. So here's two that here was a test version just to
Hmm.
see if like things fit, and then here was one version that I printed out. Then of course it didn't fit in here, so I tested the wrong side because then this didn't fit.
Yeah.
So, and then I had a couple of other tests that I threw away, but these are the ones that haven't been thrown to the curb yet. So, and this isn't even like this is my final version, but I still have a newer design because I just like kind of threw or glued on some extras.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fun. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's one of these things that when you before it you think of things in terms of like, oh, now what do I have to buy to do this thing, or does something exist for me to purchase to solve a problem or whatever? And then the instant you have one, because I've been 3D printing for a really long time, and currently I'm on a Prusa too, on a big giant Prusa XL, and all of a sudden the world changes, and you look around, and you're like, oh, I can solve that. I can solve that.
Hmm.
I bet my wife wants one of those. No, she doesn't, but you think she does.
Yeah.
Look at this thing I made you, and
Uh,
go
what
ahead.
is your go-to design software?
I same as you. I am a huge fan of Tinkercad.
Really?
Yeah,
I've
I
liked it so far. I feel like I don't know how to describe it. Like I feel limited by it, but I don't know if
sure,
it's just because it's not intuitive for me. Like certain things just aren't that intuitive. But I don't have a lot of hours in it, so I'm sure it'll come with time. But everyone's like, "Oh man, you got to step up to like Fusion," or somebody had
sure.
another thing. I was like, I don't know that I'm designing anything that complex. So
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
it's also so I like Tinkercad primarily for one specific reason. That is, it's more like editing video or editing images than it is parametric CAD, where you're like, I specify this distance to this distance, and then there's X amount of millimeters here, and then my wall thickness is this. You can just go, make me a box, and let's curve the edges of this box,
Yeah,
and you can. For me, it's all about the maybe the problem solving, troubleshooting fun out of Tinkercad is that there's a way to get everything you want done. You just need to be creative to live within the bounds of this and make it work with your your subtractions and your additions. And absolutely, if you want to be professional, you should be using an actual CAD, right?
yeah,
But that's
yeah. Well,
people
I'm
go to
not there yet.
college for that shit, so that's not for
Yeah,
me.
hey, it did what I needed it to do. So
Yeah,
I just I gotta figure out the little tricks and everything. I don't like the immediate thing is like, man, like I'm thinking about Photoshop. I'm wishing I had like layers, like to where I could group things and like see them in a layer and like a
hmm,
panel. That would be nice.
right.
I know I can like group them and kind of do it like that, but I'd like to have them in a actual panel, like grouped together.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
nifty.
It's definitely limited, but again, like for example, I'll just share this with the class. I've been working on a new design to print and sell, and seems silly, but they're license plates,
Oh, I did
and
see that. Yeah,
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 and
license plates
and
covered.
they're just like this is all Tinkercad, right? I can go over in the side just to show the
Yeah.
things like this is just I grab the shapes, I import the shapes, I I actually made the text in another application, exported it as an SVG, and then bring it
Mhm.
in, and you can do all this stuff with it. And
Yeah.
it's just like, and then out the end, the other side, you're like, poof, there it is. I've got this magical thing, and
Yeah.
I love that. That's what
Yeah.
it's all
That
about.
as long as it's easy to go from like my head into a finished somewhat product,
Mm-hmm.
the quicker I can do that, the better. Because when it takes too long, I'm going to lose interest and give
Yeah.
up. Especially when my time's like hella limited these days. I don't have the time to invest in like becoming a professional 3D designer. So
Quite
Tinkercad
tolerate.
it is.
Yeah. And you can do some pretty. I honestly think the containers that I make, those are all done in Tinkercad. Just I'm getting real familiar with caliper. That's what you got to be. Just know
I
how to use
did.
it.
That's the first thing I bought,
Yeah.
a caliper. It's like, man, this is useful.
But
It
well,
no, I was gonna say, I see yours. I was just gonna ask, like, my biggest thing in my limited experience is like getting two pieces to fit together. Because I was like, oh, in Tinkercad, I'll just put them on there and then do the opposite, and then I
mhm.
print it out, and it's like the tolerances are too like tight, and I feel like it doesn't fit together well. So I don't know if there's something I should be doing or should not be doing.
I would say the short answer to that is give yourself like imagine when we're on a computer screen and we like do a subtraction. There's no that line is exact, right? But
Yeah,
when you
like
lay down
pixel.
plastic, yeah, exactly. When you lay down plastic, that bead
Yeah.
of filament has a size. So I do that too. I had a little bit of subtraction. If I'm printing in a
That's the
certain
thing. Like, is there
thickness.
an easy way? Like, if I have a square and then I want to make like a lid for that, is there an easy way to say for the lid, remove like a millimeter on all sides on the insides? Is there a way to like do something like that, or do I just have to rough like draw another box and subtract it?
That's yeah. That's basically well. Here, let me see if I can get out of
This
this.
is no longer a HomeLab stream. This is a Tinkercad tutorial session. I have hijacked this. We are now all learning Tinkercad.
I sure hope you guys like that. Let's go ahead. So the way I do it, let's say, like I like to take specific shapes. Let's see if we can find a. There's some designer shapes in here that are really nice for designer starters. Like we can choose more shapes. I'm making this way harder than it needs to be. Um, like for example, we'll take this,
Mm-hmm.
drop this on there. No, that's the letter O. I don't want the letter O. I want the box. All right. This is what happens when you don't plan to do something like this, and then all of a sudden you're
No, we can
doing
move
this.
on. We don't have to
No,
actually
no,
do
no.
a
I
tutorial now.
yeah, no. This is so like okay. Let's just take a simple box. Like well, here's the box,
Mm-hmm.
and so the first thing I would do if I want to make a box is I would take this and I duplicate it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would make this a hole, right? I'd
Mm-hmm.
make it the minus. And this box, what was the size of this box? This was 20 by 20 by 20, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I I like to keep around 3 to 4 millimeter of wall thickness just because I like a sturdy wall, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would need to subtract 8 from each side. So it ends up, instead of being 20, it's going to be what, 12 each then? 12 and 12 at the bottom. And then, no, that's way too much. I'm sorry. That is not the right. I mean,
Yeah,
math is
20
hard.
point
Yeah,
or
so
yeah, I get it.
I need to remove. Actually, no, 4 is too much. Let's do it. Let's do less than that. Let's go. We'll just do this as a 18 and 18 just for funsies here. All right. So then I got this box, and then
Mm-hmm.
I will lift the box by grabbing the little thing. I'll lift it like 2 millimeter.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
just 2 in this case, and then I'll grab these
Yeah.
two, and then I'll center them like
Oh,
so.
wait, how'd you do that? Wait, well, hold on.
Okay. All right. So there's the two boxes, right?
Uh-huh. So
There's if I unclick and I select both of them,
yeah.
and then up here in the top right, there's this align buto, which
Oh
is
shit, dude, that
magic.
would be hella useful. I wish I knew
Yeah,
about that. It's just a
and
button
then
right there.
it's just a
Okay.
button. And then when you do it, the items that you selected, you can align. So then I can click these, and now it's perfectly aligned.
That's useful.
Yeah. So then I grab this guy and I go, all right, boom. Now I have my box. I just made a
Uh-huh.
box. It's not the
Yeah.
sexiest box in the world, but
Gotcha.
it's good. Um, and the next my next thought is, well, I want to make I want to make a lid for this box, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I will duplicate my box, and I will actually ungroup them so they're separate.
Right.
And let's say I want to make this box or the lid. This is a 20, so let's say we want to make the box. I don't know, we'll make it 6 millimeter high here. Um, and then this box right here, I'll want to fit over
Mm-hmm.
this box. So I will take it and I will actually make this internal box a little bit smaller. We'll make these just for the sake of simplicity and not wasting too much time. These two like this, I'll make it 19,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will realign these guys. And then I will take this and I will bind it together. Just the bind button. Okay, so now I've got a box that's slightly smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do now, because I want to make a lid to this, is I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to rotate it over 180 degrees. And I'm going to make a copy of it because I like to have copies of stuff. And I'm going to turn it into a hole. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I will take this guy and I'm going to bring it up to where I want it here on this guy here.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're like shaving off a little.
And then I have a
Okay.
lip. Then your box, and there are actually there's a lot of, like, I've seen some 3D tool software that will magically make boxes for you. This is kind of
Yeah.
somewhat of a hard way. So now I've got a couple millimeters of
I
overhang,
see.
right? So then I grab these
Hmm.
guys, and actually I'll just make it lower a little bit just for fun. Oops, not the whole thing. Grab just the top box here and bring it down just a few more, and then I'll grab this whole deal, and I will just say, make it one big piece. And now
Hmm.
this lid fits perfectly on this box,
Yep.
and obviously,
Gotcha.
and that's like the latest and
Yeah.
greatest way to do it. But because I essentially carved it out to be exact. So
Yeah.
it's I hope you
There you
guys
go.
enjoyed that.
Perfect.
So
Yep. Thanks. Thanks for the tutorial.
it's funny, but this is like the things like one of my favorite things, and I'm not ashamed of this, but I like to remember this. Like the first time I got a 3D printer, and I was able to do this stuff in Tinkercad. Like I was out in the backyard. My parents had bought us when we bought our house like a housewarming gift of like a table for the back patio, and it had the hole in the middle for an umbrella, and we didn't have an umbrella, and it didn't come with a plug for the hole. So I looked at it and went, I can solve this. I have
Hmm.
a 3D printer. So I pull out the caliper and I start clicking on stuff and I'm doing all these things. And 5 hours later, I had a perfect piece of plastic that fit in the hole. And I was so proud. I was like, look, I told my wife, I'm like, look, this, I did this thing. I'm proud of this. It literally was my first like functional print, which seems silly. And then I went on Amazon and for $1.50, I could have bought the plug
Hmm.
and had it delivered like the next day. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe that. I spent, how much is my time worth? 5 hours of my personal time. I'm like, sure, I learned stuff, but man, so
It's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
So,
That is true.
yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. I have quite a few more ideas. Um, so yeah, it's like everything else, learning. The more you do it, the more you mess up, the better you'll get. So
Yeah.
ask me again in 6 months. We'll see where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. And I also think you made the right choice on the printer. So I'm glad that Prusa's worked with you
Yeah.
because
It
that's
came right at the time where everyone was like, the new thing to be angry at these days is Bamboo
bamboo.
Labs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not gonna get one of those. Like,
No.
I don't know what's good or not. Like, I even said that in the video. I'm talking like I'm writing the script. I'm like, oh, here's this 3D thing I printed. I'm using a Prusa Mark 4S. I don't know if it's good. I think it's good, but I don't have anything to compare it to, so I don't know if it's good compared to other printers. But it's really good for me. It's fast
Yeah.
and it does a good job. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's you have joined 3D printing in a time where things are way better than they used to be. And Bamboo and both Prusa are like, I guess Elegoo's, which is a weird name, they're about to release a good contender too. But realistically, it used to be the process is what you learn to enjoy, not the output.
Hmm.
So you learned how to come to terms with failure because it wasn't just the failure of your design or idea. It was the failure of the print, the failure of the temperature in the room, all those sort of things. But
Yeah, printing something and waiting 4 hours and then coming back and seeing that doesn't work or it's not the right or something's messed up. I'm just like, ah, that's demoralizing.
yeah. Well, let's move on because we just monopolized this whole print thing now.
Yeah.
But
Whoops.
yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you about. Let me change this so it's not so many ads. I wanted to talk to you about this. I wanted to talk to you about your experience with Docker Swarm,
Okay.
and especially because you have, and remind me here if I'm wrong, but you have some experience in Kubernetes as well.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
so
Some is a good word. Yeah.
yeah, but you've done more than me, which is I've looked at it and went like, no, that's way too complicated. I don't want to touch it. That's my
Yeah.
uh,
That's
so
common.
give me your thoughts on this, like the TLDR in terms of like uh, because you've had
Um,
experience with both.
it's it is a it's very niche. Um, because it's a simple way to cluster, but I feel like the people that are looking to cluster things aren't looking for simple, right? Like if you're looking
Hmm.
to cluster something, you're probably doing this for like a company or a business or something. Obviously in the home lab, there's people who just do stuff for fun.
Yeah,
And that's where I think like the niche is at. Like it's right there in the home lab community where you want to play with a cluster. You want to say that you have a highly available cluster in your home lab. but you don't want to dive into Kubernetes because I was there. It was cool to learn for a bit, but I didn't want it to be something that I was dreading having to deal with. And that's what Kubernetes was. Like anytime something minor broke, I was like, oh my God, which Techno Tim video do I have to watch to fix this? Like,
Yeah.
and I had heard people talk about Docker Swarm and I had so much like negative stuff about it. And I was like, at some point I'm just going to try this. So I tried it and like, okay, this is actually like super easy. It's literally like one line once you have Docker installed to spin it up. And then it even spits out the exact command you run on the other nodes to join the cluster. And that's it. It doesn't do anything fancy. Like there's no highly available like cluster internal DB like Kubernetes has. There's no built-in, like with Kubernetes, you have K3S and Rancher that has the highly available mass storage option. There's nothing fancy like that, but it's simple and it's easy. It works. The migration of services isn't as sophisticated as Kubernetes, but I mean, for a home lab, for something lightweight and it's just easy to set up, I suggest everyone like try it. It's cool. It's easy. It's comically easy. So that's my pitch, dude. That's for Swarm. I like it.
Well, I mean, I guess you kind of answered my next question really, which is like, is it worth running? And short answer, in a home lab, probably not, unless you're trying to learn and trying to experiment.
It just depends. Like who needs like I have, that's a bit upcoming video, but I have a new like Proxmox cluster I'm working on. Do I need a cluster? No, like I don't need highly available stuff in my lab. It's fun to play with. Some people are hosting like websites and stuff, and maybe they need clustering for that. Maybe they are just running a crap ton of stuff and they want to consolidate a bunch of hardware and get use out of it. But like I said, it's just niche. Like I can't imagine there's a lot of people that are running huge Docker Swarm clusters. They might be out there, but everything I've seen on the YouTube side as well as like at my 9 to 5 is Kubernetes. So
yeah,
I don't know. I like it. I'm going to continue to run it, but
what are you running in it right now? Do you have anything that's production in it?
No, nothing production. I've been messing around. I tried to get. I had a highly available version of like Plex running a couple of test like websites. I wanted to use that to play around with like some proper CI/CD stuff because I never got that working well in Kubernetes. And then see if I can come up with a good way to automate like migration of services, like load balancing. It doesn't do that very well like a Kubernetes cluster would. Right. So I don't know, just something to tinker around with. It's not running anything, useful, but something to play with that I'm not dreading to touch like Kubernetes was.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, well, I could see the value in that. I probably being, when I think of like Docker, I think of like when you scale out, you can have a bunch of microservices, right? You have these individual things that they're all working together, but if one dies or you need to upgrade it, it's ephemeral, right? In that case. So if you don't have persistent storage, do you really need a reason to ship containers around? Like that seems more like a cheaper way to do virtualization, just for container virtualization versus just running, Docker containers that are throwaway when they fail. But,
yeah.
Well, that's.
I mean, I run Docker. I mean, I run pretty much most things on Docker within Proxmox. It's just so easy. there's a compose file for everything, and
right.
If something breaks, Proxmox, I have a backup. Just reload it, try again. That's comically easy.
Yeah, that's someone was saying in the what are you running for shared storage? You're running Ceph on everything. I'm just local and then NFS for when I need to reach out to my large files for Plex and that kind of stuff.
My Proxmox cluster that I'm upgrading from is running Ceph because it's just built into Proxmox. It's easy. But I'm using that as an opportunity to learn more about Ceph. But shared storage on the Swarm is using NFS. That was the easiest way to set up everything.
Yeah.
People were talking about like Gluster FS was another option. I was like, no, dude, just an NFS mount on all of them.
Yeah.
That's,
I have the
that's
cluster's
the
a little
easiest way.
complicated too. The cluster,
Yeah.
a CF, I think, but yeah. So I didn't mention it, but because we haven't like talked, but I'm really loving the new set, like
Oh yeah,
the
dude.
dark wood. Yeah, it looks
It came out
fantastic.
way better than I thought it would.
Really?
Like, yeah, because I've had a couple of sets and I've never really liked one. Like I've
Hmm.
always thought they were just like fine. Like I
Yeah.
don't think any of them look bad, but I never really, really liked one. Like I just thought they were okay. So I thought this was just gonna be another one of those, just something different, but nothing like that I really liked. And then as I was putting it together, I was like, okay, this kind of looks good. I put the light up and everything, and then right when I turned it on and saw it on camera, I was like, dang, okay, this is my new permanent set.
You
Because
hit
this
it.
was going to
Yeah.
be like my secondary one. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going back to the other one. I'm sticking with this one.
So is that where you plan on doing like everything your builds and everything as well? Or are you still using the other area for?
It's the same area. I just turned the desk. My other set's like this wall right here, like 2 feet away from me.
Yeah.
The camera, I just have to turn it 90 degrees. But yeah, I might do something different with it. But yeah, the life of a YouTuber, dude, just making sure your set looks good and being more hype about that than like actual home lab stuff. Hell yeah, dude. My new set with
Uh,
my new lighting. Oh, so good.
yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit like cosplaying as a production studio, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
some of the cost of this gear, like you can do it on the cheap, but man,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you can tell when people are putting the big money in the big lighting, the big cameras, and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what I tell people. I mean, the diminishing returns are like insane on camera gear and lighting. Like
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, what do you use?" I'm like, I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to think that that's what you need, like to
Right.
run a YouTube channel or a good looking set. Like cameras are so good now, even at the entry level.
Hmm.
Like a Sony, like a what's the new a A6700? That's their like their high end entry level,
Hmm.
like micro four thirds camera. It's ridiculous. I think it's like $1,500, maybe the 6400 is 1,500. I don't know, but you can honestly do it with your phone.
Oh
Like
yeah.
phones are so good now too.
Yeah, I've got an iPhone 16, and while
Mhm.
it's not a earth-shaking improvement or upgrade to the 15, that new spatial microphone stuff that they built into it, I was down in the garage and shot that little short thing for that 3D printed bezel I made. And
Yeah.
when I listened to the audio, I was like, "Oh, this audio is terrible." And then there's options like, "Oh no, you can select which array of mics," and all of a
Hmm.
sudden you're like, "Boop, there it is," and now you hear nothing but me. I'm like, "We've come
Yeah.
so far." So it's pretty
One thing I
awesome.
downloaded because I'm taking this because I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks and
Awesome.
to be utilizing my phone for some of the footage. So I downloaded like the Black Magic Cam app,
Hmm.
which gives you just like way more customization, like in there in terms of automatically setting, the frame rate, the shutter speed, white balance. You can lock exposure and all that stuff, just to make it look more professional. Because if you just pull out like the regular camera app in a phone, I mean, it's probably going to look good, but I
Sure.
feel like you can always tell it's a phone video. But when you adjust like some custom settings and lock everything where it looks more consistent, like they're getting so good now to where you can
Yeah.
legitimately use a phone for like everything.
Yeah. Now they like the Nice 16, you can plug a USB-C hard drive into it, and
Yep. I
you can
wish I
record
think I left it in the
ProRes.
car. Oh, I left it in the car. So I have a there's downstairs. It's somewhere. I have my setup. Yeah, it's a little it's probably like this big. It's a little square. It's a
Hmm.
USB-C hard drive. And I got a little like 180-degree adapter. So it sits right here. And then I have a magnetic like tripod thing. So that's literally my setup, recording ProRes to it with
It's a
a
mind. We're talking about a camera. That's mind
and
blowing.
then it also magnetic on the back of that is a little flip up light. Like it's crazy how compact and it's nuts. I'm like, what? I bought a Insta360 Go that I'm going to bring. That's right there. Let me grab it. This is cool, but realistically, I think the iPhone's going to look better in a lot of cases, but
Mhm.
this thing I'm bringing, like it's a Insta360 brand. It's the Go 3S. So you got like camera, action cam looking thing. It's got a flip out screen, which is nice.
Mhm.
But the cool thing, it's got this little magnetic. How do I do this? This magnetic, the whole camera unit can come out, and you can wear like a pendant and clip it on,
Oh,
and it
no kidding.
records like
It's your
vertical
own
or
body cam.
horizontal. Yeah, it's nuts. And you can set it to where it'll record like a 30 or like a 10-second clip every minute or something. So at the end of the day, you have like a montage of everything you did. So I'm going to use this a bit while I'm there. It should give me some cool footage. I don't know, but cameras, man, they're
Yeah,
crazy.
dude. Yeah. Well, and in all fairness, you're a photographer first, right? That's where
I'm
where you
a
came
yeah,
from in terms.
yeah. That was the whole idea of buying a camera and starting a YouTube channel. People ask like, why'd you start a YouTube channel? Half of it was because I like tech and
Mhm.
wanted a reason to buy more tech stuff, and half was because I wanted an excuse to buy a nice camera so I could do photography.
Yeah.
So one of those took off a bit more than the other. So
Yeah.
do less photography stuff.
You made any big changes in your home lab at all since we kind of talked last, or is it? I mean, there's the projects that you're making videos of, but anything like wholesale changed at all?
Any big changes? So yeah, I was supposed to do like a home lab tour because I try to do one every year. I saw you just
Mhm.
did one. Um, Nothing. A couple of things came up to where I couldn't get to that video,
Mhm.
but then I was thinking about, I'm like, not much has changed, like big things. Um, by the middle of this year, I should have a couple more things that'll make for a more exciting lab tour. Like that new cluster will be cool.
Mhm.
Um, More networking gear. I'm getting so much freaking Ubiquity stuff. Like my dashboard that shows all the stuff. I'm like, what? This is way too much stuff. But a
More
lot of
when you
networking
hit more
stuff.
dashboard, more Ubiquity items in the dashboard than actual clients, then you'll know you've gone too
Dude,
far.
it's close. It's close. It's you joke, but it's getting ridiculous. Um, yeah, that Raspberry Pi cluster is running still in there, but nothing like major. I'm about to put out a video on a new storage server that I'm considering making production
Mhm.
after the video with a little slight tweaks. So I might have a new storage server because right now my main server and my storage server are the same thing. So I'd like to have a dedicated storage server.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But nothing huge, nothing major, I'd say.
Yeah.
But that isn't to say next month there won't be
Right.
something new in there.
Um, I know you did a video on the Ubiquity NAS or the UniFi NAS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am interested to know what you think. Is it too early for people to be investing in something like that? Are they still baking it,
It,
or is it baked?
no, it's. Um, I think they're fairly committed to it. Um, I would say that I don't. Let me choose my words correctly
I
here.
don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just curious because
No, 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 no.
it's a
I'm
weird
just trying to make
niche.
sure I say. Uh, so the expectations of it are that it is a UniFi application, like UniFi Drive, and it is a piece of UniFi hardware. And everyone knows, like UniFi, you're in the ecosystem. They're the Apple of networking.
Right.
So I think in terms of like comparing it to other off-the-shelf NASs, you have to be invested in the UniFi ecosystem already if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
buy one. Like it's not something that you're like, oh, I'm starting a home lab. I'm going to start with a UniFi NAS because
Right.
it just doesn't do what all other off-the-shelf NAS devices do. Like you can buy an ASUS store or Synology and run Docker containers and virtualization, and they have built-in apps to sync with like all different platforms and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The UniFi NAS is like, hey, if you're involved in like identity and protect and you just want something that fits into the ecosystem and gives you some network share or network storage, we got you. It's competitively priced, which was surprising for UniFi, because I will say, so they get a lot of slack for being expensive, but I think they're a bit more competitive these days with a lot more of their offerings. But you can still find some other brands for cheaper for some basic stuff. But when it came out, I think everyone was expecting it to be way more expensive. But I think it's like $499 or something, which was surprising. How much is it?
You said 400. No, you said
Yeah,
499.
Yeah, I think it's $499.
Wow,
right?
I guess I thought it'd be in the. I honestly thought it'd be in the thousands. I didn't look up.
That's what everyone thought, because that's what I even thought. And then when I got like the creator thing, and they were like, yeah, $499, I was like, what?
Yeah, that's
for sure.
You can't, and that's without drives. You have to.
Yeah. Let me double check that, because I'm pretty sure it's $499, right?
Just looking for the same thing. I'll throw it up on the
I
screen.
don't even know if they're in stock. Accessories, is that what it's under? No.
Yeah, where's that actually at?
Yeah, good call, dude. I don't know. Integrations. Ooh. Oh yeah, integrations, $499. So yeah, I mean, it could do more. It could have more bays, whatever. But for the price, I think if you're in the UniFi ecosystem and you just want some network storage, for the price, I think it's solid. Outside of that, no one, you're not buying a UniFi NAS.
Yeah. So
it's niche, but that's kind of what they do. They get you in the ecosystem and they say, well, here's an option for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recommended to a friend to buy a UDM SE, and I was going to head over to his place and just help him set it up. And by the time I'd called him back at the end of the day, he'd already set it up. They've made such a amazing advance in their user experience for non-technical network people. So I've been just thoroughly impressed with what they're doing.
Their stuff is like good. I know it's cool to hate on them because they're like the Apple of networking, and they're, they make it a point to have nice graphics and, got that like feel to it. I get it. Yeah. But I mean, they make they make good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, their APs and their, the switching is, my entire HomeLab is currently running all on Ubiquiti stuff. So, and they've got some like enterprise level switching, like full 25 gig switches coming out or already.
I got two of their campus aggregation switches in my rack right now. It's got 600 gig ports and 48 25 gig ports.
That's
comical.
That's fantastic. And the price is not bad, right? So
compared to like enterprise hardware, it's really not bad. So I don't know. I'd love to sit down with someone who hates like UniFi stuff and just like legitimately be like, what's your beef with them?
Show me what's wrong with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone mentioned no apps or iSCSI on the UniFi NAS. Yeah, it's missing a lot of like stuff you'd expect out of like today if you went and bought, just like I was saying, any other brand of an off-the-shelf NAS device, and then you used a UniFi NAS, you'd be like, well, what is this? But I got one like forever ago before it was like released, and they were gathering like feedback and stuff. And I'm like, so are y'all going to do this or this or this? And they're like, no, it's going to be just straightforward. I'm like, people aren't going to like that. They're like, yeah, we know. It's designed. We're setting expectations that this is designed to be network storage for a UniFi ecosystem. I was like,
so,
all right.
So cool. They wanted feedback, and when you gave your feedback, they said no.
For some things, I think it was more just like managing expectations. I was like, it probably should have this, and people are going to want this. And they're like, yeah, we know, but like for the price and I guess for development, how much it would cost to build that out, they're just saying, you know what, this is what we're offering. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. So. Does it support NFS? I don't see any like on the website. There's no details about what file sharing services. I imagine SMB for Windows.
SMB only. Oh, for sure.
Okay. Well,
At least it was when it released. I know a lot of people were asking about NFS, but I never got an answer on if it's uh, incorporated yet.
yeah, it looks like it's supports. Now they're saying NFS on it.
Okay.
So which is, I mean, you're going to hit 90% of your market when you hit 99% is going to be SMB, and then the
Well, like
the
I
niche
said,
stuff.
if it's built into a unified build out, I mean, their whole thing is like easy to use, like easy to set up, you know, user experience. So if you say sharing is Samba, like it's supported on every platform,
Yeah,
you know, we're just going to go with that. I wouldn't see a problem with it, but I get it for the people who need NFS for certain things and they turn around their NAS wouldn't have it or whatever. I get it, but I don't know. Yeah, like I said, for an existing unified build out, cool. If you want something more, don't get it. Like
yeah,
I'm not even going to pretend like that's something you should buy if you're not in that ecosystem.
yeah. I couldn't argue with that. That's, I mean,
I even have an affiliate link, dude, and I'm telling you not to buy it if you don't need it. So that should tell you something.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, I switching gears a little bit. I just finished a video on rolling your own storage server. Speaking of NASs, that's my segue. But and I in the end, the whole result for me came out like, don't do it. I mean, you can do it, but don't do it. And
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad that I mean, I came to a realization that I would have. I guess just should have assumed that I would have anyway, because like stuffing a whole bunch of stuff into a single Linux box is kind of a mess in the end. So
Yeah.
so I can understand why they would want to do something that's just like, hey, do this one thing. That's all I do. Gonna do this and it's good. And
And so saying like, because a lot of the people we interact with through YouTube and the people who comment on our videos and just the community we're in is so much different than the real world.
yeah,
Like you talk to anyone in the HomeLab community and they're like, I'm not running a Synology, I'm not running a unifying NAS, I'm building my own and I'm virtualizing TrueNAS in Proxmox and I'm building out my own iSCSI shares and
mm-hmm.
setting blah blah blah, all this stuff. And people in the real world are like, I need storage and I need to be able to connect to it. What's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah,
And that's just how it is. Like, and that's why people get paid to go set up TrueNAS systems and other servers. Like people
mm-hmm.
get paid a lot of money to maintain and support those because a lot of people who need mass storage aren't technical and they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, it's just got to work. Got to be reliable. It's got to work, especially for your in a business, right? Like,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I agree. And I also think that like the people who get to play with that stuff in the home lab, I've come across a few who lose sight of the fact that having the freedom to break something in the middle of the day and not have to get
Mm-hmm.
yelled at is
Yep.
is something that they've never experienced. And I mean, I've turned off the internet on my family on accident on the weekends, and I almost died. So
Yeah.
they come after you with pitchforks and
Yeah. My
torches.
real job, if it works, I don't care how sexy it is. Like as long as it works and it's stable, cool. Like
Yeah,
I don't need it to be the sexiest thing. I don't need it to be the most interesting thing. If it works, cool.
just got to run.
But yeah, and I mean, in my job, like my 9 to 5, I don't have much interact or input or interaction at all into like the infrastructure team. That's a whole nother group, a whole nother team. Um, so we have so many different like types of servers and different databases. We're running an Oracle like Exadata system,
Hmm.
which I didn't even know what it was before. And they were like, oh, we're doing Exadata patching. It's like, what the hell's that? They're like, oh, it's our Oracle thing. I'm like, what is it? They're like, oh, it's just like dedicated hardware that runs this dedicated Oracle, database structure. I'm like, cool, never heard of it, but if it works, neat, have
Yeah,
fun. But like I said, In the real world, I think people value stability and ease of use over fun to play
Yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah. Downtime's a killer. That's
Yeah,
br-
100%.
bringing things down too much, and you'll find yourself out of a job real fast.
I've always told people, like, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would probably just have like a big old beefy Synology server, and that's it. Like,
Yeah,
it's so easy. Uh, if I didn't care about like tinkering with stuff and playing around and getting the max performance out of everything and all that, God, just setting a Synology in the rack and just it's so easy. Like it just
yeah,
does everything.
yeah. That's
But
my go-to recommendation for people who want storage and they may want to do something simple. Like you can install Plex on it. You can share up your
you can
videos.
do
You can,
everything. It's everything except like virtualization. The virtualization is pretty
yeah.
ass. I haven't seen a good off the shelf NAS that's done virtualization well, to be honest.
Well, there's not enough power in those, right? They have the most anemic processors. And Synology, they make such impressive looking. But I've been to like a bunch of conferences where Synology be showing off their gear, and you're like, wow, from 10 feet, their rack looks incredible. You walk up to it,
Yeah.
what's it running? Oh, it's running a Celeron D. You're like,
Yeah, an old ass. Yeah.
yeah, like what? Who's making these decisions over there?
Yeah. Some
Like,
like 10-year-old AMD, like
yeah,
whatever AMD, I can't remember what they're called, but they're old.
mhm.
And I mean, other companies are like catching up in terms of like software usability. Freaking Asus stores is pretty solid.
Mhm.
Ugreens was
Yeah.
surprisingly solid. They actually just hit me up yesterday. We're like, hey, you want to do a sponsored video on the NAS again? I'm like, what do you mean? Like update, like video, like here
Yeah,
it is
like
now in
still work,
2025.
still working.
Because yeah, I haven't checked it. I mean, when it first, it had a rocky like release
Hmm.
because they kept pushing it back, and they were like, all right, we're releasing it next week. And I'm like, guys, if you make me do a video on this, I you're gonna have to let me say some of these things are bad, or I'm gonna cancel like the video
Yeah.
because some of the stuff was bad. And luckily, they pushed it back. I think like a few months or something. And when it released, it was pretty solid. From what I've heard, it's gotten a little better. So I'd be curious to check it out again.
Yeah, I've got one of their
TerraMaster was surprisingly good. Their newest launch,
the
because
424 Max. Is that
or
right?
no, their software, like they're on
Oh,
TOS like
the
5 or something now.
TOS 6, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be whatever the
Yeah,
newer one is. Was actually a solid upgrade because
yeah,
oof, they used to be
yeah,
rough.
absolutely. Yeah, no, they that was really so. I did a video over the 424 Max a few, I guess, a couple months ago now, and yeah, it rolled out with 6, and I was just like, wow, you guys stopped trying to be Synology and started just doing, you know, focusing on actual quality, and it was quite a surprise. And it's solid hardware. It's absolutely solid hardware. So
Yeah, and they still let you just throw whatever software you want on it. If you want to run Proxmox or TrueNAS or whatever on it, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, they
Yeah,
really improved it quite a
the
bit.
big thing was like the funniest shit was when I did my first video on TerraMaster, and I was like, okay, one of the biggest things about like off the shelf NAS devices is its ability to sync with like a computer, like a Windows machine.
Hmm.
I want like to install software to where it just syncs to my NAS. And they're like, yeah, here it is. Here's the software. And there was nowhere to download it. And I'm like, wait, am I stupid? And after doing some research, it just didn't exist.
Oh my gosh.
I found a forum post where someone from TerraMaster was like, yeah, we're looking to release it in a couple of months. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, you have this on your page and you have nowhere to download it. I was like, guys, this is bad. But it
Yeah,
exists now and it works
yeah,
pretty well.
yeah. It sounds like that meme where you've got the salesman saying one thing, the developer saying another thing, and then the customers just left out to dry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they've I this yeah this especially that's the last NAS, the 424 Max. I was really overall just impressed. They don't have, in my opinion, they lack a really solid holistic backup solution. Like Synology,
Yeah.
Synology just has the backup stuff because they're shooting for that SMB
The
market
hyper
segment.
backup. is the greatest piece of, or no, active backup,
Yeah,
active
active backup for
business.
business. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, that
Everything.
it's so good, dude. I don't care if you're a Synology hater. I mean, it's weird. There's so many haters for different brands out there. I've
Yeah.
seen haters for probably every brand. I want a Synology hater to come in and argue why, or argue that active backup for business isn't the best piece of like NAS software ever.
And it's
I love it.
free.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that's
amazing.
yeah. So I because I've got a contact with Synology and I asked them specifically, like, okay, I used to use it for virtualizing or backing up VMware. Right now, VMware is a dumpster fire. So
Hmm.
I messaged them like, hey, what about Proxmox? What about XCP-ng? Like this
Hmm.
is the wave of the way people are moving, and they're like, let me get back to you, and then nothing. So I don't know. Like I mean, Proxmox has PBS, right? There's a lot of other solutions. You can use Veeam, but um, having it,
Proxmox needs a freaking host backup, dude. I'm tired of complaining about it every release update.
yeah,
Like I don't get it. I've seen it on their roadmap. I don't know if they took it off. I just want a proper host backup. I get it that it's supposed to be like, oh, don't mess with the host so much that you can't, quickly restore it. I'm like, that's not a solution. So telling the user not to customize it because they won't be able to restore a proper backup is so stupid.
mm-hmm.
Like I can't believe that they don't have a proper host backup. Like especially when they have PBS. Like why doesn't that just back up the host? That's crazy to me.
Can you not? I haven't. It's on my roadmap to do a PBS video since I have no experience with it, and then later compare it to Veeam since I did a Veeam comparison. But can you
Yeah.
not just install it on the host? Like, what happens? Does it say sorry? The PVE's on
It's,
here.
from my understanding, PBS is just a proper way to house like container and virtual machine backups. It's
Sure.
not like a proper host backup solution because that doesn't exist. Like you could,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, like I want something that's like, here's my host, like TrueNAS has like a configuration file. You can
Yeah.
restore from a configuration file. Um, every other solution I can think of has some type of like backup, like host backup. Proxmox doesn't. They're like, I've seen the threads that get shared around. It's like, oh, just back up your Etsy
Etsy
folder and
PV. Yeah.
make sure you back up this and then restore that, like zip it and then unzip it and like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
That is sure that's a solution, but for something as popular as Proxmox, how they don't have a host backup is mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm surprised there's not a community script out there that someone's built to. There probably is
It probably
to
is, to
tar
be
it all
honest.
together. But then you're in a situation where you're relying on people who do it as a hobby, and that's not a
So
reliable solution.
so put that Shadow Technologies comment on the screen. This is what I get every time that I complain about this. So you don't really need to back up the Proxmox host. Okay. Show me another hypervisor, anything that you don't want to back up the host of. Like I get it. Like I was saying, Proxmox is designed to, house your VMs and containers. That's the meat and potatoes of everything. That's what matters. And it does for the most part. But if my host blows up and I had some like niche setup in there to get my like 100 gig NIC working, or I had some like weird, processes that I had installed to get things working, um, yeah, that would not be fun to back up or to restore. Like I just want to. It can't. It's got to be more difficult than I'm imagining it, right? Like, am I tripping here? Is
I
there a reason why it doesn't have
Yeah, I
that?
mean I know that with VMware, um, the hosts are considered sacrificable, right? Because
I
they're
mean,
all they're
technically
all
they should be.
yeah, and because they're all essentially, even though they have their own configs and they have bespoke network configurations, supposedly if you do it right. But this is, I think, let me clarify this. I think you're 100% correct in a scenario where you have a single host. You're an individual with one single hypervisor. You want to be able to restore that hypervisor and then get the workloads. That makes 100% sense because if you're one guy doing that, you probably don't want to have to go through that by hand. If you have a cluster, that's what a cluster's job is for, right? But individually, yeah, I can 100% see that, right? Because that way you just can restore.
It just sounds like am I wrong in that pretty much any other hypervisor operating system has at least some type of configuration restore or something?
Yeah, well, no, I mean you're not like in VMware you'd use vCenter. vCenter does a backup, like it does a
Yeah.
dump, and it stores that. So yeah,
Yeah, at least like an XML config. That's what TrueNAS does.
Yeah.
Like here's your config file, save it in case your upgrade blows up or something.
Yeah, and
Restore.
it's got everything in there. It's got your container definitions.
Yeah,
It's got,
why?
Yeah.
Because in it's Proxmox, when you hook in custom storage and it's stored in the storage CFG file, that's all custom. So when you migrate to a new host, you better just know that you need that storage config, which I get. Read the documentation, cool, but come on, host back. It can't be that bad. Like check the boxes of things you want to save to your config and restore.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I'm just complaining, dude. I'm a bitch. Leave me alone.
I think you've got some good points. We're getting close to the hour time. I want to ask you one quick question about your thoughts on all of the AI drama going on, because I feel like if I don't end this with did you see how Elon asked or tried to buy OpenAI today? You know, that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on DeepSeek and OpenAI and just all of the drama?
I don't really have like a tinfoil hat for any of this. Some things I like to don a tiny little tinfoil cap, but I don't know. Everyone's like stealing data and using data that they shouldn't. DeepSeek probably used stuff from OpenAI. OpenAI used a bunch of shit they probably shouldn't have. All these assholes that are billionaires are complaining because they're probably losing millions of dollars, which is like chump change to them. They're all just being a bunch of whiny
big billionaire babies.
Yeah, that's the word we'll use.
Yeah.
They're just trying to capitalize because it's such a new, sexy market and it's just blown up. You've seen what happened to NVIDIA when AI blew up, and now there's just so much money in it that everyone wants to capitalize right now. And so things are super tense, and you see every product slapping AI on the name. And it's just like the wild, wild west right now. Same thing as like when crypto mining and crypto boom happened. Like no one knew crypto is going to be the future, and it was the next craziest thing. It was amazing. Everyone's jumping into that. And I think AI has more like practical use. I use it for like coding. It's fantastic for that. Some things I don't know, but my last live stream with Tom, he showed me like Google Studio. Have you seen that? Dude, that's another like AI tool that actually useful. Go check out Google AI Studio, I think it's called. What you can have it do is you can have it watch your screen. Okay, tinfoil hat. I get it. Google, you don't want to watch your screen, whatever. I don't care that Google's watching my screen for things. I got nothing to hide. But yeah, this shit's cool. So like if let's say you're in Tinkercad, you can have it watch your screen. It knows you're in Tinkercad. You can talk to it. You can say, how do I center these together? And it'll say, yeah, okay. So you're using Tinkercad. And it'll watch your mouse and it'll give you like live feedback on like what you're doing on your screen. It's crazy.
I'm gonna have to play with this. Yeah.
Dude, play it. On my live stream, I brought up like I had The Witcher running. And I was like, oh man, what should I do? And they're like, well, it looks like you're on this quest. So maybe you should go like start by going here. I'm like, what the hell?
How did you get it to, how do you share your
So
screen?
there's there's something that says, where is it? You can like, no, create a, what? Oh yeah, talk to, show Gemini. or share your screen. Yeah, you can do either. So you can like share one of your screens,
Let's
and like if you bring up Tinkercad,
yeah, let's do that. Oh, I gotta
yeah, just try it, see what it does.
let me split some things up here since I got a bunch of nested.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how it does with Tinkercad.
Okay, so there's that. That's out. Go back to this. We will share a screen. Sure, we will allow. Let's just allow all visiting. That's cool.
Yeah, make sure your microphone's on because it's going to start talking to you.
Why can't I hear you? Talk to me, Gemini.
See, it's listening already.
I understand. Okay, hold on, Mr. Gemini. Just
This is what happened to me on my live stream.
Okay. All right. I have 10 minutes of this. Okay. So, make sure the mic stuff's got to be.
Well, that's yeah, so you can be like, "Hey Gemini, what am I looking at?" or something.
What is in that? I can just talk to it. What is in that video, that frame, that window? Come on, talk to me. Oh yeah, look at that. It totally understood. I mean,
so just ask it. Be like, "Okay, so how do I get this block to fit on top of that one?" or something like that.
How do I get that block to fit on top of the other block, Gemini? Hey Gemini, how do I get it to do the thing? It's a little slow, and my mic's audio is not.
It's hard when you're trying to live stream, and yeah, it's more impressive when you're not doing it live. I'd suggest trying it out. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fascinating.
Because it'll watch like your mouse in like real time. It'll tell you like go do stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing about the AI stuff is to just to hop on what you said, like billionaires like having public quabbles in public. That's my new jam for 2025. I like watching these billionaire babies complain
God,
to each
it's
other.
so like, dude, just like log off and go like have a party on your yacht, relax. Like
Your
geez,
ultra
like, what
mega
are you
yacht,
complaining about?
Put another rocket in space. You got time?
Yeah, really. That's so much to do, and you're online. Complain, dude. If I was a billionaire, there's no way. Like,
we wouldn't be on here right now.
Nah, dude. I would be traveling. Like, I would delete all of my social media. I would just cease to exist and just live, dude. You got nothing else to do. Like, you won.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
With that, my friend, I think we will call it since it's a little bit past time. I want to thank you so much. You're my first guest after starting up these live streams again, so I appreciate you having that distinction.
It's all uphill from here.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the plan anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Brett, we'll keep an eye on your stuff. For people who don't know who Raid Owl is, which I don't know how you wouldn't by this point, there will be links to all of his stuff, and he makes some fantastic videos. So check him out. All right, dude. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Everybody for watching. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Yep. See ya.
Hey.